Hello everyone, this is Thelma. I just want to give you an update on where I am with the layout that we started. So I just want to show you that I've taken the larger pattern pieces from the coat that I'm making, and I laid those out. I initially started to utilize the guide sheet that I had circled, where I had circled one of the layout plans that was listed here. But because when I measured this fabric from the fold to the selvage, it was 24, double that, 48, and there wasn't a 48-inch layout. I actually ended up taking going a different route. So I have the larger pieces here, and anything that has a grain line, the line that has an arrow on each end of the pattern piece, like there's an arrow on this one, an arrow on this one, and not on the fold, that I would measure from that grain line to the end of the selvage, the end of the fabric, and whatever number I got here, I would make sure I had the same number at the other end. I did that on all the pieces that may have had a grain line, right? The grain line was showing. So as I laid them out, all I did, because my table is not long enough to accommodate all of the pieces at once, I simply rolled it up, moved this pattern guide, rolled it up as I went along. As you can see, I have pin cushions and things like that. Rolled it up, pulled it out, and then laid out my additional pieces. Now, one of this is number 15, and it says it has a grain line. So I measured that from here to the selvage again, and that was something that was 21 and 4, 5, 6, 7 eighths. And then I made sure I had the exact same thing at the end of the line. My sleeves, I normally add an inch for myself no matter what I'm making, because I know I have longer arms. So I normally just split this on the line where it says alter, where you can alter it. I cut on the line, paper, scissors, and then I spaced it 1 inch apart. I just need to remember not to cut here, right? I'm going to cut all the way down and continue my sleeve so I have my additional 1 inch. I'm just rolling it up and continuing to show you the layout. Now here was a piece that was on the bias. So what makes it really easier, convenient, is I'm still doing the same thing. I'm taking the grain line, with the ones with arrows on both ends, and I am measuring that grain line, the mark that's identified as a grain line, from that line to the end of the selvage, right? So this one says 15 and 3/8. So what I normally do is I make sure that the other one end of that measures the same thing. I did that throughout the layout, all the larger pieces, rolling it up, move the guide sheet out of the way, rolling it up and continuing on with my layout. How many pieces? I have another piece that's cut on the bias. I'll pull it up so you can see that, which is this looks like the sleeve band. Same thing, measure, grain line, down to the selvage, same thing here. And I've got all my pieces here. I normally, also because I have long legs, I normally add an inch to each one of these pieces of the coat. So on every piece that's identified as the body part of the coat, I will measure an inch. I'll add an inch to the bottom. Now I could take it and take a pencil here so you don't forget, and just extend an inch. See, show you here. extend an inch from the hemline. I'm adding an inch, add an inch. See, I didn't go into, okay, here, hemline. I add an inch. I just measure and mark an inch, another inch, all the way, so that when I'm cutting this out, I will add an inch to this for length. That's only because I sew for me, and I know what I like. I don't like them to be too short or too long. And throughout my life, since I have long legs, long arms, that is what I've done. I just add an inch to pretty much just the arm, the sleeves, if they're long sleeves, and an inch to the hemline. So same thing over here. This is a hemline. This is a hemline. So I've got to measure an inch there. But as I cut it out, then you will see. So let me get my shears, and I can start fabric shears. My paper scissors were, let me grab those. These are my paper scissors. This is what I use to cut out tissue paper before I lay it on the fabric. These are my Ginger shears, fabric that I use for fabric only, and I don't mix them because cutting paper with your shears can dull them. Okay, so I will start here at the bottom since I've already rolled this down. But before I start, there's one additional pattern piece, and this is the buttonhole guide. So I only need that on the front. When I actually get to a point where I am applying my buttonholes, I will take that front piece of the fabric that I've cut out, and I will lay it on that piece to get where my buttonhole should be. Okay, so I'm just going to put this aside till later when I'm a little bit further in the process. Place it over here, so I will use that later. Put my paper scissors up out of the way, and then since this is a side, this is called the side panel of the coat. So since I know that it's part of the body of the coat, I am going to add that 1 inch for my height right here on this tissue paper or fabric, whichever one I would have laid it on, because you know this is the wrong side. I'm just putting little dashes at the 1 inch mark, and I am going to cut out from there. So, or another way to do it, so let me take my paper scissors and trim this down. I'm going to trim this off. Okay, and then I will take my tape measure and measure, and the pencil, and measure an inch from the hemline, so I can add that inch to the side panel. Any piece that's going to be part of the body of the coat, I'm adding an inch to it. So now, using my fabric shears, and I'm going to cut on those little dots. And there I've added my inch, and then I will start going up to cut out my piece. So I will come back and give you an update when I finish cutting them out, to show you what else I need to cut out. There's a pocket piece here, right here, that says cut out 4, so I've got to cut this out and lay it out again. Further down, I have plenty of fabric. There is, I thought there was one other piece that I needed to cut out for. Let's see, I think it is my collar. this collar piece, the collar piece right here, this is number, can't see it, because I flipped it over, but it's number 14. I will take this and lay it out again on the fold. So I've got plenty of fabric left over. Initially when I bought this, like I said, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I don't even remember how much fabric I purchased. But I've got plenty to either make something else small, I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. At least I have enough to do what I want to do in this particular case. All right, we'll come back and give you an update. Okay, everyone. All right, update. I finished cutting out all the pieces. Here's the pocket. I cut that this one required 4, so I laid this out again and cut it out. So I'd have 4 pieces instead of the 2. And here's my sleeve. And all the other pieces that I need are right here. So what I also have done, I've taken the ones that require interfacing and I set those aside, because here it says this is for the band, the sleeve band. It says to cut 2 of your fabric, which I've cut 2, and I'm cutting 2 of interfacing. So I'm setting this aside because it requires interfacing. Then this is the back facing. I normally add interfacing to it as well, even though it doesn't say on here. It just says cut 1 on the fold, right? Back facing, but I normally add interfacing for that support on the back, so I'm setting it aside. Additionally, we have got this is the welt. The welt part of the pocket on that jacket. It was cut on the bias, so it also says cut 2 of fabric and cut 2 of the interfacing. So I'm going to cut 2 on the interfacing, and I will also be cutting it on the bias because I use the woven interfacing. Then we've got this is the collar. The collar requires interfacing as well, so I will be setting that aside. So that's what I've done. Oh, I'm sorry, last piece. This is the facing for the entire jacket. Look how long it is. So it also requires interfacing because it's going to go down the front. You need that support kind of in the front of your jacket. Plus, I'm going to, you will have buttonholes and buttons there, so you definitely need interfacing there. So I'm setting all these aside so that I can get my interfacing. But in the meantime, while I am, before I take my pattern pieces off, what I do everywhere where you may see a notch, like a single little triangle right here, there's a single triangle here, little notch, and then there is a double one too right here. Basically, all I do to identify those is I will take my little embroidery scissors or smaller scissors, gingers, and I will cut a little snip right there for the 1. So all I'm doing is cutting a little snip, and then for 2, I will move over our, of course, snip wherever those 2 notches are. So I put 2 little snips there. I would do the same thing. Then I'm gonna, but before I do that, I normally take off my pattern pieces, put my pins up, roll my pattern pieces set them aside, and just kind of roll them together for the coat pieces, so I don't have to go, if I decide to make this again, I won't have to go through all the pattern pieces to find them again. So here's the sleeve. There's a single notch here. I'm clipping here. There's a double notch for the back. I am clipping here. 1, 2. Same thing over here. There's 1 for the front of the sleeve. I'm clipping 1 there. Then I am clipping 1 right here. That's kind of what I do throughout I'm sorry, here's another one right here. So I just kind of walk along the cutting line to see where my connecting points are. And I snip those. And then there's 1 here at the bottom because there's a band that's going to be attached. So I've snipped all of those. What I will also do with my sleeve, because there is a center point for the sleeve, which is a dot here. So I've got a dot here, the center, 1 dot, and then another one here and here. So I will get my tracing paper and tracing wheel out. So here's my little cup that I keep everything in, that I can grab pretty quickly, except for it's getting stuffed. There's a tracing wheel right here. This is the serrated one. I don't particularly like using that one because it cuts my pattern pieces. And if I decide to use them again, you know, I'll have holes in it. For some reason, I don't see my solid one. I have a couple, so I'll have to find it. It may be in my project cup over there, a project storage container. I'll put all this back. But for right now, or just in an effort just to show you what I do, I am grabbing, I'm going to use the serrated one. I normally have everything out, so I'm not having to search for anything. This is my tracing paper that I'm going to use. I can use this orange right here because I only have white or orange in here. White, orange, and I don't want white because I won't see it. Oh, here is my solid tracing wheel. So I'm going to put this one back and use that one because I'm working on another project, but I had to stop to do this. So all I do is I take this tracing paper. I'm just going to, oh, there's a yellow one, so I don't want the yellow. I could use it, but I'll just put it aside. So I'm just going to crease it better and tear it. So, wrong sides are on the outside. So I'm going to put tracing paper behind and then place another one in between the pattern piece and the fabric, wrong sides. And then all I do, see, I've got them together this way. All right, so they're sandwiched in between. They're like the bread. The pattern, the fabric for the sleeves are like the meat or the cheese, whatever you want to use, analogy you want to use. But all I've done is kind of just put those on the outside because wrong sides together. And then I am marking with my tracing wheel an X on the circle to identify where that point should be. And would you know it, a piece of tissue paper was in the way on here. I've got the mark it on the back, but not on the front, of course. So I'm going to mark it again. So I put a little X there, and then I do the same thing throughout the piece. Here's another one. I'm going to put an X here, or one there, to kind of show where I can do an X. Sometimes I just use one line, but that's just because that's what I'm used to doing. Instead of the X, I use the X to identify the center. But since I see that that's the top of the sleeve, the cap of the sleeve, I'll just use X's throughout to show you. Okay, so I've got an X on each one of the dots, and you'll be able to see that. Here's the top of the sleeve there with an X. Here is the other connecting point, and here is the other one. The reason that these are here, you may have to kind of gather or ease your sleeve into the arm's eye, and you want to have equal amounts on each side of it. So here we'll start with that center point, and then we'll work everything else in on the arm side. I'll show you as we go along. I kind of go through the piece, identify if there are any other dots that I need. And on this, I don't have any. So at this point, what I do, since there are not any more dots, I actually take my pins out. Take the pins out, because I've already done the clips, I've already done the knot, the little dots, and I am taking my pins out of this because I no longer need it. I'll take it out. Excuse me. Take them all out. So, first one, there's part of my sleeve. Remember I added an inch over here? So I'm gonna have 2 parts to my sleeve. I just cut it all the way down because I always add an inch for me. All right, so, and then now that these two, I'm just gonna place this here and I'll fold it. I'm going to gather all the other pieces, put them all together, and I'll put them back in the pattern envelope, right? So I will give you an update when I get to the point of sewing. All right, so pocket, I cannot use a notch. I'm just going to show you. Same thing. Sometimes, like this one being 4 layers, did I notch this one already? I did. However, there is a dot right here on where I'm going to stop my stitching and leave an opening for my pocket. So I'm going to take my tissue paper to mark it, and there's one on each end. One here and one there. See those dots? All right, so take those. And because I have 4 pieces, take the first one, place it in between on the wrong side, and I'm going to put an X there. And sometimes I have a board because my this is sometimes doesn't allow me to press hard enough, but you can see the X here, X on each side. So then all I'm going to do is take it and put it in between the next 2, because I cut out 4, remember? And I'm going to do the same thing. Now, as I go down, I will do the same thing. This one is between the first 2. You get what I'm saying, right? Mark that. Then I'm going to flip this one over and put the one from the bottom, place it right here on the top. Same thing, mark it, done. All right, take the pins out. I know they're all over the place. Sometimes I use this to catch it as a magnet, but I'm trying to do something with these. I kind of like these pins better. So I either need to take the, depends on what I'm sewing. So this fabric was a little thicker than the shorter ones. So I'm using these white ones because they're a little bit longer, if you can see that. So right now I'm putting all the white ones in here so that I can put the shorter ones in another container. So that's why you see me going between the pin cushion and the little magnetic holder. So did I remove them all? Okay, all have been removed. This is the sleeve. I'm just going to take the pocket, set it on top, and then place this aside. And I'll do that throughout all the pattern pieces, put them all together, then I'll fold them up, put them all in there, so I'll know that those are all the coat pieces. So I will see you when I am done with the markings. You're just going to eyeball as you go along, just like I've done those other 2 pieces. If you see any notches, clip. If you see 2, clip, clip. If you see dots, you're going to put X's on those and then take your pattern pieces off. And we'll see where all these points connect as we move through the process. Okay, hello everyone, this is Thelma again, giving you the next part associated with my project today. Initially, I talked about the interfacing before the previous session. However, if you look at the guide sheet here, 8302, it does give you a cutout for the interfacing and the number of pieces that are required. So it's number 5, it's 5 pieces that needed interfacing, which included the back facing, because initially I didn't know if it was listed because I had trimmed it off, trimmed the instructions off that that tissue paper, but it does require interfacing for the facing. This is the back facing. So I've cut out the interfacing for that on a faux, and I will be attaching it to the outer fabric. And basically it just gives it more support, which is a good thing. Then I've got interfacing for, this is the, I think this is the welt pocket, interfacing for that. Interfacing for the collar, there's the interfacing here, and then interfacing for the entire front facing. So, and where else? Oh, interfacing for the cuff on the jacket. So, interfacings are ready, and I will start my process by, let's see, number one, I can fold this tissue, this guide sheet up and put it away because I'm all done with it. And now I'm just going to go with the sewing instructions guide sheet. So the first thing it says is coat C, that we will, I kind of look at the pictures as I go along sometimes without reading, but it does say stay stitch neck edge facings to the back, sections with the right sides together, stitch to center back. So picture says, okay, the stay stitching is around the neck, and then you're going to sew up the sides and the center back. Side back, center back. This is a side back here as well. So I'm just going to follow along with the instructions as I go. And first I need to find some thread to match and get my bobbin ready. Make sure I've got the right needle, and we'll be ready to go. I don't know why I'm folding this up. I will need this as I go along just to keep up with where I am. So we'll bring you an update when we are getting close or starting to sew. All right, thanks.